Guys, I have snails. Look. And they're eating my plants. Look at that. I need help. What should I do? Stay tuned to find out.
With someone you are.
What's up, guys? I'm Justin from H2O Plants, and today we're going to go over what goes on with snails in your aquarium and if they're a good thing or a bad thing. First, big misconception. Snails are eating the plants. False. Snails are not eating that plant. That is simply an unhealthy leaf that is decaying, and the snails actually help to eat the dying debris. But let's take a look at some other interesting snail facts. So oftentimes when people see holes like these on their plants, they often directly accuse it of being a snail's fault. False. Snails are not eating that plant. They are simply cleaning it of all of its dying plant matter. Why is that leaf dying? Well, simply one of two things. Either it's not getting enough light, which has happened because it was being shadowed, or that leaf is just simply old and dying as it was grown, most likely immersed, and now it's converting into its submerged growth. That leaf will eventually die no matter what, and snails are going to clean it up for you, which is actually good because it's breaking down that dying plant matter faster, so your nitrifying bacteria that's in your aquarium can process it quicker. Otherwise, it sits there, acts as detritus, and it basically breaks down slower. Snails help that process a lot. Alright, so let's take a look at this glass here of this aquarium. You see? There's no snails on the glass, except for right there at the tippy top. Why is that? But wait, if we take a closer look, there's snails on that side. If we look over here, there's snails on that side as well. Why is that? Well, simple reason. I don't clean the sides of the tank. I don't wipe off the algae off that side or that side. I only wipe it off the front. Simply put, snails are only going to be where they have food. They can only exist as long as they have something to eat. See, a lot of people get pond snails in their tank and they're worried that they're going to get out of control and just completely take over. Well, one, they're not eating your plants, so they're not necessarily a bad thing. Two, they may look unsightly because yes, there is plenty of them in this aquarium, and yes, they are all over the place. However, if I restricted their food in this aquarium, they will soon die out. Now, we'll prove this to you because we're going to take a look at the tank behind me and you'll see what I'm talking about. Alright, so let's take a look at the 55 here. See if you could spot any sort of snails. I'm gonna go really slow here. And that speck on the glass right there is not a snail, that's something else. So as you can see, there really is no snails. And how I could prove to you that there was once snails is, that's an empty snail shell right there. That's a dead snail. That's a dead snail. I don't have anything in here that eats them. So their only way that those could have died is one, they're old age and they die naturally, or two, which is more plausible and more likely, there's no food for them to eat. Most of the glass is completely bare of algae. There's a little bit, but the Autosynchilus that I have in here, Autosynchilus catfish and Siamese algae eaters, do a good job at maintaining any sort of detritus that may build up. As you can see, there's very little dying plant matter on the ground here. And as well as the auto, they keep the glass clean. So, restricting the food kills them off. Proof is in the pudding. So how do you get snails in your aquarium to begin with? Well, quite simple. One of two ways. Either you're going to get a full-grown snail like that, maybe attached to some plants, or into some other sort of thing that you may be putting in your aquarium, or you'll get plants that have eggs on them, and that's what the egg sac looks like. It's very tiny, it's a little bit slimy, it's like a gel substance, and it has these little white dots in it. That's what you want to look for when you're searching through your plants to see if there's any eggs. That's how you would remove them before they even get in your aquarium. The only way to completely guarantee that you won't get any snails is getting tissue culture plants, but this can be very costly and also limit your availability of what you can actually get. So how can you get rid of those snails before they even get into your aquarium? Well, you can visually inspect your plants. You can put them in a quarantine tank. Sometimes people do that just for about a week or two to see if any snails hatch. I think the hatch time is roughly about a week for the eggs. And then also you could also do a chemical dip such as bleach. There's also other chemicals like potassium something, I forget the name of it, and other things that you could do dips of to eliminate the snails and snail eggs. This sometimes works, but it's not guaranteed. It's always best to visually inspect and go through each plant individually to double check to see if you see any eggs or small little baby snails. Now another type of snail that is often referred to as a pest snail are these guys right here, Malaysian trumpet snails. They reproduce like crazy, as you only need one to reproduce multiple babies. What they are excellent at though is turning over substrate, which is awesome for plant health. And as you can see here, this substrate is a pure white substrate, and I have not done any cleaning to it. So much so you can see my filter intake that it's got a bunch of gunk on it, and I have not done any cleaning of this tank. These guys turn over the substrate as well with the goldfish and keep it really white. Okay, so you've got pest snails in your tank. You want to get rid of them. What can you do to do that? Well, step one, reduce the amount of food that is in your tank. Clean it. Remove all the algae, remove any dead and dying plant matter. Clean up your plants, make sure they look healthy. Also, dose some fertilizer to allow your plants to grow healthier so you're not losing leaves. Secondly, you can set a snail trap or throw in a piece of food that you can easily remove in the morning overnight and watch it be covered in snails. I'm going to be tossing in green beans tonight. Got green beans on a fork. This is actually for the pleco, but snails will immediately flock to it. Now watch. So what you do is you put a piece of food like a cucumber, zucchini, or some green beans in this case, into the tank, and what will happen is overnight, when the lights go off, all the snails will flock to this food. In the morning, you simply go to your aquarium, you take out the food, you discard, and rinse and repeat until all the snails are gone. What this is doing is essentially trapping them. They're going to be on the food and simply toss them away. You could also devise unique and elaborate traps such as water bottle traps that there's plenty of videos on YouTube of, or other types of traps that many other people have come up with to remove these guys. Simply put, this is the easiest and my method that I like to do if I want to remove them. You could also do chemical treatments as well as get fish that eat snails, such as pea puffer fish or loaches. I simply do not like going that route because you have to introduce a new fish to your aquarium that you may not want in there. There's one other way to get rid of snails, and that is, quite frankly, an assassin snail. Now, they're actually not snails at all, they're a type of mollusk, but what they do is they can actually eat other types of snails. They have this appendage that allows them to sting the other snail and kind of basically sting it and eat it. They paralyze it and then eat it. And what's good about these guys is you only need one. One will take care of all the snails for you. It may take a while, but these guys will eat all of the snails, and these guys cannot reproduce on their own. Therefore, once the one has eaten all the pond snails or all the other types of nuisance snails that you have, like Malaysian trumpet snails, if you don't like them, or any other sort of snail, they will eat them for the most part. There's some snails they don't eat, but once they eat them, they will essentially die themselves because they cannot sustain themselves, as they will not have enough food unless you're specifically feeding them other things. But I don't think that they eat anything other than regular snails. So if you ever have a snail problem and truly want to get rid of it in an all-natural way, get one of these guys. They're really great and really easy. You just stick them in there and let them do its job. So I left for 15 minutes to go and look at my computer, and I come back and I already see one guy on it. Of course, he moves much faster than these little guys. The bigger guys can move a lot faster. And he's already on the fork looking for food. If you leave this in overnight, like I said, by morning you'll have a majority of the snails on it, and you just simply remove. Rinse and repeat. And boy, is he gonna love those green beans. That's for you, buddy, because I like these guys. So guys, are snails your friend or your foe? Leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think. And also, while you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe here if you're new, as we upload videos every week. Also, hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime we upload a video, because sometimes YouTube doesn't do its job and notify you. And with that, guys, I will see you next time.